Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to go back to Mr. Gergen. You made some remark about that, or actually it was in your testimony, that only 3% of the dams, 80,000 dams across America, produce electricity. Could you explain that a little bit? What's holding that up?
One is it's very capital intense projects, and they take such a long time to develop. And a lot of these are not your big impoundment dams, or obviously run of the river where we're at. So they have smaller capacity nameplate. Our projects are, example, 105 megawatts, 82 megawatts, 72 megawatts, and 48 megawatts. And so from that perspective, our business model fits it pretty well. Also that I will say in defense of some of the investor owns it, some of these projects have municipal preference on them. So if there's competing license and they're equal, they're going to go to a municipal system, the municipal preference. But for the most part, it's that capital intense issue. What we've been able to do, what sets us apart, and I'm not sure we would build these projects today if it was, in today's natural gas markets, it would have been tough to justify this because, quite frankly, our run-of-the-river hydro are very similar to the nuclear when it comes to cost.
Okay.
But we look at that component from we don't have a fuel to buy and a waste stream on the other side.
Thank you.
So I think that's the key.
On some other matters, I'd like to hear, coming from a coal state and seeing the pushback, I chuckle over the people say there's no war on coal. They just live under a rock if they don't understand that. And maybe we need to just talk more slowly for them. But as it relates to natural gas, eventually, and we're going to see natural gas rise in its price. We know that. Right now, what the Henry Hub is about 3.25 something. Where does it reach a point? At what price? Many of you burn natural gas with it. When does it reach a price? What is that level? $6, $7 when you have to go back to the Public Service Commission and ask for a rate change? What's a reasonable expectation when we should become concerned about the price of natural gas?
I'll take a shot at that. All of our fuel costs typically is passed through.
I know precisely. That's what I'm saying. So the consumer is ultimately going to pay for using this. So I'm curious, what will that level be? What is a level that becomes
Yeah. So our average coal cost in 2012 at AEP was about $2.40 a million. So if gas were double or more than that, we probably would be called in to justify why we chose a certain scenario for building and serving the jurisdictions. I mean, that's kind of hypothetical, but certainly when you're passing through that much increased cost, it raises awareness at the commissions, and they'd like to understand why.
I know in the time frame maybe we don't have enough, but I'm hoping, and we've been discussing about global warming and having climate change, some hearings or so. That's probably a worthwhile venture of time. But I'm just curious from the two of you at the end, Mr. Mole and Mr. McCullough, do you believe that I believe there is global warming going on. As an engineer in Congress, I believe there is some global warming, climate change occurring. But my question to you, though, is it man-made?
I guess I'll take a shot at that.
I don't want to let McCullough off the hook there, but we'll go back to you. So just
yeah, that's fine. We have utilities in the Gulf Coast, and I think you could argue whether what's creating the issues associated with climate change, but the risks are real. I mean, we have seen a substantial increase in the number of hurricanes, the intensity of the hurricanes, and the damage to the Gulf Coast. And so really the way we look at it is it's a reality, and we need to manage that risk just like we manage any other risk in our portfolio. So we look for opportunities to mitigate.
My question, Mr. Mole, is it man-made? Did we cause it?
As I said, I am not the one to argue that point, or nor am I have the scientific background to answer that question.
Mr. McCullough, do you think have we caused this?
Well, great question. Again, I'm not a climatologist, but the incremental part of CO2 emissions created by man is in the minority of overall CO2 emissions. And when you look at it from a global perspective, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, here in this country, we are less than 12% of global CO2 emissions and getting smaller all the time. So whatever's offered up as a solution needs to be global in nature and market-based.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Back my time.
This time recognize the gentlelady from Virgin Islands, Mrs.